All right, today we're pulling back the curtain and going behind the scenes of that offer letter. We're going to uncover the hidden logic of how companies plan their people. We'll explore the whole strategic framework that decides who gets hired, who stays, and all those tough choices that really shape a company's future.
I mean, it can feel so random sometimes, can it? One minute, a new job posting goes up, the next, a whole team is downsized. But here's the thing. These are almost never random events. Behind every single one of those decisions, there's a really complex strategic process at play. It's not just about filling a seat. It's about building a team that actually lines up with where the company wants to go in the long run. So where does it all begin? Well, it starts way up at the top, at the executive level. Long before anyone even thinks about writing a job description, the company's leaders are defining their big picture strategic direction, and every single decision they make about their people flows directly from that high-level plan.
A company's people strategy is totally dictated by what business phase it's in. Is it in a growth spurt, hungry for new talent to expand? Or maybe it's focused on stability, just trying to hold on to the experts it already has. Or, on the tough side, is it in a period of decline, where it needs to carefully shrink its workforce? Each one of those scenarios requires a completely different approach from HR. Okay, so you've got this big, lofty goal like growth. How does that actually turn into a specific job that you or I could apply for? What's the process for carving out a brand new role inside an organization? Well, the secret ingredient is something called job analysis. You can think of it like creating a super detailed recipe before you even think about preheating the oven. I mean, you wouldn't just throw a bunch of random ingredients in a bowl and hope a five-star meal magically appears, right? Of course not. And it's the same for companies. They can't just hire someone and hope they're a perfect fit. First, they have to meticulously map out every single task, duty, and responsibility for that role. And trust me, this is a very systematic process. It's not guesswork. HR pros figure out exactly what information they need, then they pick the best way to get it, like through interviews or by actually watching someone do the job, and then they assign the right people to go out and collect all that data. It's a real data-driven approach to understanding the DNA of a job. And they use some pretty sophisticated tools to get it done. For instance, ONET is this massive online database from the US Department of Labor that breaks down hundreds of different jobs. Then you have things like the Position Analysis Questionnaire, which uses 194 different points to dissect a role, everything from how you process information to how you interact with people. The bottom line here is that the job description you scroll past online is the end result of a really rigorous, almost scientific process. So, once a company has this crystal clear picture of every single role, they can finally tackle the never-ending challenge of right-sizing, making sure they have exactly the right number of people with the right skills at all times. It is a constant, delicate balancing act. And this balancing act really comes down to a simple equation. On one side, you've got increased demand. Maybe a new product is flying off the shelves. On the other side, you've got a declining need, maybe because new technology is automating old tasks. And for both situations, companies have a whole toolkit of strategies to manage it. When demand suddenly surges, you might think companies just go on a full-time hiring spree, right? Well, not always. They have a ton of flexible options. They can offer overtime to current staff, hire temporary workers for a specific project, use leasing agencies, or bring in part-timers to handle the extra load without making a huge long-term commitment. And on the flip side, when the need for people goes down, they follow a pretty methodical process there too. Usually they'll start by cutting back on their contract or temp workers. Then they might offer some sweet deals for early retirement. After that, they'll rely on natural attrition, which just means they don't replace people who leave on their own. Layoffs are almost always seen as the absolute last resort, something to do only when every other option is off the table. But sometimes that last resort becomes unavoidable, and this is where the world of HR faces its most difficult, most personal challenges. So now, let's take a look at the human side of these incredibly tough decisions. Now, get this. This might actually surprise you. Most research shows that downsizing is, an ineffective strategy. But why? Because while it might cut costs right now, it often causes productivity to plummet. The people who are left, the survivors, are often overworked, totally stressed out about their own jobs, and way less willing to take risks. And the most talented survivors, the ones who now feel insecure, they're often the first ones to polish up their resumes and leave, draining the company of its best people. It's a painful strategy that has a huge risk of backfiring. So, when a company absolutely must go through with downsizing, one thing becomes more important than anything else: the perception of fairness.
The entire success of the process really hinges on whether everyone, both the people leaving and the people staying, believes it was handled in a just and fair way.
And as you can see, fairness isn't just one simple concept. It's really broken down into these three key pillars. Distributive justice is all about the fairness of the outcomes, so who was let go and who stayed. Procedural justice looks at the fairness of the process used to make those calls. And international justice is all about whether people were treated with dignity and respect through it all. You need all three. Let's just zoom in on that middle one, procedural justice, because it's often the most critical piece of the puzzle. Did employees get a chance to be heard? Were the rules applied the same way to everyone consistently? Was the decision based on accurate information? In a layoff situation, the how you do it can be even more important than the what you do. Okay, enough of the tough stuff. Let's flip the script and talk about the other side of this coin, retention. Instead of figuring out how to let people go, let's dig into how companies convince their most valuable employees to actually stay. People rarely just wake up one morning and decide to quit their job on the spot. It's a journey. It's a multi-step process that usually starts with feeling dissatisfied, then moves on to thinking about leaving, and then finally ends with the actual decision to go. And smart companies try to step in long before an employee ever gets to that final stage. So what are the real root causes that make people unhappy at work? Well, as you can see, they usually fall into four big buckets. Maybe the work itself just isn't fulfilling anymore. Maybe the pay and benefits don't feel fair. The relationships with coworkers could be strained. And a bad relationship with your direct boss? Yep, that is consistently one of the biggest things that pushes great employees right out the door. So to fight back against turnover, companies have a bunch of proactive tricks up their sleeve. They use employee surveys to get a read on the company mood. They do exit interviews to learn why people are leaving. They give realistic job previews to set clear expectations from day one. And they offer things like stock options to make employees feel like they're truly owners of the company's success. So there you have it. The intricate, hidden corporate playbook that guides everything from the highest level strategy all the way down to the daily grind of keeping top talent happy. So I'll just leave you with this one question to think about. In your own life, your own career, beyond all the systems and processes, what is that one human thing that truly keeps you committed and loyal to your job?